Today is day 22. I've got quite a few stamps at this point. I've got more than 22 stamps. I can't tell you how many I have. Some days I count and some days I don't. Anyway, this piece I was really excited to get carving on because the original piece of paper was so cute. So I decided I would give it a shot. It is one of those ones where you have to stamp it, turn around and stamp it again to make the whole figure. So we'll see how that goes. Sometimes they're more effective for me than others. But anyway, it's a little different from most of the other things I've carved. But I'm really looking forward to using it, so I hope that it will turn out well. I was a little nervous when I was carving this one because it does have a lot of small edges, and in some of those places the edge needs to be sharp to be able to be seen well and look good. And I had that trouble the other day where it didn't work out so well, and I've been a little gun shy since then. I have to say, it's kind of like when you fall off a horse and you have to get back on. But I hadn't been nervous about that before, but got a little nervous after that mishap. So I went slowly and with some caution as I went through carving this. As you can see, those little dots, the best way I found to carve them is to put the nib down on the surface and turn the block, and then you'll get a circle right there. I need to do that on the edges too, where it ends in kind of a little bit of a circular pattern. So here it is, and stamping in an old calendar once again. And I'm finding stamping on these when I'm doing one of those double stamps has been great because you can line it up with the line, and it shows me how it's going, and I feel like I feel very satisfied with this carve. So that was good. So today I'm going to try something that I have heard about years ago and have always wanted to try, and for some reason never did. And this is a way some people challenge themselves to really just get things going on a journal. And the idea is you lay out your pages. So I think they usually say 20. I had 15 small squares left over from an old journal I cut up. It no longer related to it, and it was so old that it just didn't speak to me anymore. So I cut it up into the pieces, and you put out the pieces and set a timer for like half of the minutes. Well, so I had 15, so I set it for 7 minutes. So I'd have half a minute for each piece. And the first layer, so 7 minutes to do 15 pieces. The first layer is you put down a layer of paint on each, and you only have 7 minutes. So if you don't get it on all papers, tough luck. You have to just leave some blank. So as I said, I had never actually used this method before, but it sounded really intriguing to me, so I gave it a try. And I did find that, having heard about it, I did make sure to get some paint down on each one. So sadly, I did forget to hit the play button when I was recording this. So you don't see the first two layers, which the first layer was paint. The second layer was, let me think, stencil. And the third layer was then these water-soluble crayons. So you go in with the crayon, put some color down, and then you hit it with a paintbrush full of water, or not full of water, but with water, and it, goes like watercolor, right? So those were my three stages. Now you have intermission, because I forget to record. So because I remembered afterwards, we decided to flip those pieces once they were dry. Flip the pieces and do the other side, which is something I would have to do anyway. So again, I'm going to set the timer for 7 minutes, and you'll see how I can throw a little paint on within a short period of time. I can get a background really started on each of these. Now, these are small pieces of paper, granted. A lot of times people would usually have a bigger piece of paper to be putting paint on. But it worked pretty well for me. Let me see. These are 4x4. And as I said, they did come from an old journal when I was just starting art journaling, and didn't know the tricks and tips I have now. So took it apart, and I liked a lot of the background. So it didn't have to be covered up, but I didn't mind covering it up either. Some things I did want to cover up because not my thing, right? But anyway, so for 7 minutes, you can do quite a bit. Sadly, as we were going along doing this, my phone decided that it needed some charging, and it started giving me notifications that it was going to shut down before long. So I went from doing 7 minutes, and this is a 7-minute piece, to the other layers I did 5 minutes a piece. And so now I have a beautiful stack of paper, already with a background on it, already with some layers on it, and it's really exciting to work with. I am going to go in and put a couple more layers on it eventually. I'll be putting on a layer with art markers and artistic markers, like maybe my Prismacolors or some such thing like that. I use Sharpie a lot these days. I mean, I always loved using the quote unquote artist grade markers, but Sharpies are really working for me these days. So I'm using them a lot. I may be using those to put in that layer, who knows. So I'll need to put in a marker layer, and let's see, what else? Oh, I wanted to put in an embossing powder layer. So I think both of those things will be quite fun to do. I don't know how 15 pieces embossing powder on each one. It could be challenging, but I think it will be fun. I'll be giving it a try. I didn't used to work like this. So, actually, I've never done this exactly like this before. But I think my style's changed a little bit recently. the way I put down paint. I like the way it looks. Since these are 4x4, I am having a question. I am questioning how I'm going to bind them into a journal. I have not come to a conclusion yet about that, but I've got some ideas. The journal I took it from was a rather large one. Let's see, 8.5 by, is that 11? Maybe 8.5 by, yeah, 11 or so. And so I did first cut out an 8.5 by 8.5 pieces, and I've bound those together in a journal already, and I'm fond of that. I really like it. So I'll be working with that. But this 4x4, doing a simple fold bound journal will be really, a pamphlet style journal will be kind of hard because it will be 2 inches wide. So that might be a little challenging. So, okay, so now here I go with the stencils. There you go, 5 minutes. And I did find with the other side, when I did the stencils, I did not have enough time to really do a good job with a fancy stencil. In fact, it came out pretty badly when I did that, so I just turned it into something else. No problem with that, but I did that. And then so on this side I decided I would just use very simple stencil. This one I made out of a pasta box 4 or 5 years ago, and this one was one of those plastic thing for a 3-ring binder, and then I just punched in some more holes with a hole punch, and can just use that to put down a line of circles. And at first I thought, I'll just do a line of circles, and then I realized I could put a whole set of them on one page and have a different look that way, and that was fun too. You can see I'm having fun with that. On that one, I really like how I went over the edge, so you have the circles and then a little line, and the circles and a little line. But every time I put, well, not every time, but I tend to, when I put more paint on the paintbrush, I tend to go back and put, a different color, like add in. So if it starts out white, I might add a little bit of yellow or a little bit of pink, and then I do some pink ones, and then I might add a little blue to it so it starts to go towards purple before adding purple. So, it's kind of great. I get a gradient from side to side. So it's time for me to go ahead and dry these. The craft dryer is a wonderful thing. And I want to dry them so that I can put the wet medium on there, the crayons, the water-soluble crayons, and then of course I'll have water. So I want to dry off the acrylic first. Acrylic dries pretty fast if it's not too thick. Some of the areas you can see where it's bumped up, that's going to take longer to dry, even with the dryer. It's also interesting to see, oh, you can see it there, that when I hit that kind of bumped up area of paint with the heat, it starts to bubble, and it's kind of interesting. Gives a little more texture. I think there are people who would not like that, but I kind of enjoy it. So you could see, as I was using the crayons, a piece of the paper on that piece, the collaged paper on there, came up, so I'll have to glue that back down. On some of these, if some of the paper peeled up, I would just simply peel it off, and then I'd have, yet another layer of stuff. But in this case, I think I want to keep that edge, so I'll hit it with some glue. Trying to remember where I put paint and where I didn't with some of that crayon. And now I'm coming in with some water and moving that crayon around. You can see I blotted it where I felt it just kind of... Sometimes it becomes muddy. I don't always wash my brush off really well in between. I do often like the colors mixing themselves, and sometimes that really works for me, but I found today that it worked maybe 3/4 of the time, but occasionally it really didn't work. So yeah, so it's not that you can never do it, it's just what colors you're mixing will kind of determine. For example, when you go from green to blue or blue to green, it's pretty okay. But when you go from pink to green, sometimes that gets just muddy. These are Neocolor water-soluble crayons. I love them. They're just wonderful, but they do a good job. So thanks for watching, and can't wait to see what I come up with for these papers.